So we're talking about Kyle Busch, incident between him and Christopher Bell in this race. What did you think about what you saw here?
I think you could probably. I'll let you see it here. I think Bell had committed to filling that hole, and Kyle with that late move. I don't know the spotter conversation, but Bell had definitely decided that he was going to fill the hole, and Kyle probably looked in the mirror and didn't think that was going to happen. But you can see right there what was going to happen, and Christopher was at a point of no return right there. So I look at that as just one of those racing deals perfectly. I think Kyle's frustrated with the way that they've run and having a decent day right there. He still wound up having a decent day, but I think in general, Kyle is just frustrated with the way that the start of the year has gone, and I think you're starting to see more of those situations boil over.
And Christopher actually genuinely looked scared there, I thought, when Kyle came up to him. He was like, whoa.
Well, Christopher's never got into it with anybody.
And they were teammates, and Kyle gave him a shot at KBM.
Yeah, he kind of came through that Toyota, you got to go through Kyle's program.
Yeah.
And so there's a respect level that's different, right? Because Kyle's made so many guys so good. Right. And Christopher's one of them. And Christopher's never got into it with anyone. It's kind of like Larson, too. Larson's never really got into it with anyone except one time with Bubba. His face is like, man. Uncle Kyle is really upset with you right now. He didn't know what to do. And Kyle, he's like, he puts his finger up 2 and then 3. And we don't have the audio on that, but it looks like he's like, it feels like something where it's like, you hit me once, you hit me twice somewhere else, and now you wrecked me, and so.
And I always find these as interesting scenarios because you always wonder, I wonder now, it makes me think about how is Christopher Bell going to react, because he also spun Kyle Larson out too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, we had the Ross Chastain stuff over the last couple of years, and you look at those scenarios, and when you got to a certain point, I felt like it affected the way that he drove and the decisions that he made. And sometimes a guy like Kyle, that's why he's going to do that, right? Because he's like, well, I need to get this situated and tell my piece or mix this up or whatever. Mm-hmm. You never know what somebody's thinking, but you always wonder how it affects somebody in those types of situations and what happens going forward when they're racing around Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson. Just do they push it they did, he did on this particular day, or does he have to think about that twice and not stuff it in there like he should and did?
I think with Kyle Busch specifically, because of what you just said with their season not being super stellar, the more that it stays mid to not that great, the more that Kyle Busch is going to do this.
Right.
Because he already has a problem with how everyone races each other anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's like, okay, we're having a decent day and I get run over. Now I'm going to go down here and say something to you. I think more of the old Rowdy is going to kind of start showing back up with where they're at.
Because he's frustrated.
Because he's mad.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how that story continues to unfold between Christopher and Kyle. I want to let you talk about Ty Gibbs again.
No.
Well, because,
I want to let you talk about him.
Honestly, we're going to keep talking about him because he's done so well. It really is impressive. But I heard you talking, I think it was in qualifying or something. You're like, I'm not surprised, though, that he's running this well on the road course.
No. He's been a great road course racer since the first time that we've seen him on the racetrack. And when you listen to the things that he's done in the past with the Trans Am car and all the K&N races or ARCA races, whatever they call it now. I guess it's ARCA.
It's ARCA.
Yeah, it is.
I can still call it Winston West.
You're way behind, so don't worry about it.
Date myself. Yes, those are cigarettes. So it's it doesn't surprise me. I think their cars are really good on the road courses. He's put a lot of time into trying to be good at the road courses, and he should have been he was right at being on the pole. He actually had to lift way before the start-finish line because he got way too wide coming to the temporary start-finish line, and it's super rough out there, and I think he knew that, and he didn't want to destroy his car or have anything happen, and he actually lifted way before the start-finish line and still only missed by just a little bit. So, but I honestly thought that he was the car to beat when we got done with practice, and William Byron just didn't want to have anything to do with that conversation because he showed from the drop of the green flag that I'm the car to beat.
Yes, he did.
Still a solid day for Christopher Bell. a solid day for Ty Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin he got a stage point. He was there, and Martin Truex wrecked on the first lap, first corner, with Corey LaJoie and somebody else. Buscher.
That wreck. So they're 3 wide coming off of turn 1, and obviously Martin's there, but what are we doing on turn 1, lap 1?
Well, I think a lot of that just happened because they all went wide. Corey was way wide. Martin just was like, hey, I'm in a safe spot. I'm just going to drive straight right here. And Corey had abruptly turned the car from going through the grass.
Yeah.
Because that asphalt is wide, but it gets really narrow.
Real quick. And it was either go through the grass or pull it back onto the racetrack. And he just yanked it back on the racetrack and slammed into Martin, and Martin slammed into Bubba. So it was just one of those unfortunate, untimely things. You got to give it to Bubba, though, because they came all the way back. They ended up 15th, and he's not, if you ask him, he's not a road course guy. And if I do not mention Austin Green from the Xfinity race, he had a top 10. That's David Green.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's David Green's kid. And David was in his official uniform. Yeah. He's like, well, I think everything's good. He kept getting on the box. Like, how's he doing? You know what I mean? Tell me your dad without telling me your dad.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You referenced Corey LaJoie just a moment ago. We saw him very winded after the race, had to go to the infield care center. Can you describe what it's like racing at that track and why it's so physically taxing?
Yes, it is very physically taxing because it's last year was the same way, just a super long last run. So you run, half the race under green and you shift 24, 25 times a lap. You're 1,200 pounds of brake pressure going into turn 1, turn 10, turn 11, or I guess it would have been turn 11, turn 12, 19, 20. and there's a lot of bumps. It's a very bumpy racetrack. So it's just you're getting the crap beat out of you all day, jumping over the curbs. And, Corey LaJoie happened to be right outside of our broadcast booth. We were looking right over it, and he got out of the car and kind of fumbled around for a minute and went over to the other side of the car and laid down. Josefar was, same thing beside his car. Bubba was gassed. Saw Blaney come walking out. I mean, all of them just looked completely smashed. Yeah. And that's how I felt after this race last year, completely smashed. And it's just a taxing day.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. There's no doubt about that.
There's a lot
going on there.
Around
yeah.
Hey, race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox News, content, and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.